here's where I belong. When you see the arrows come, hold strong, hold strong. When the journey seems to take too long, too long. So many faces in the crowd, and yet no one who says out loud. Your name is dedication, determination, your self-embracing. Shout it! Oh no 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 no! Oh no 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 no! Oh no 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 no! No! Oh no 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 no! Oh no 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 no! Shout it! Oh no 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 no! Oh no 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 no! Oh no 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 no! Whoa! Say I'm strong and here's where I belong.
Hey everybody, we are in the studios of KLAS Sports FM, about to sit down and talk with DJ Kat. So stay tuned.
Once again, it's time for another artist beat in KLAS Sports FM 89, powered by ESPN. This week we got the artist in the house that goes by the name Ruach. And you know, it's a testament to the fact that this music business and life as a whole has challenges, and you'll always have to try and overcome them. You know, there's a bit of challenge for the artist getting here today, but she's here and rearing to go.
Yes, we, got through our obstacles this morning. Give thanks. But I'm here.
So welcome to KLAS Sports FM 89.
Thank you, DJ Kat. It's great being here.
All right. First, then, I'm sure this is something you get from time to time. Tell me about the name Ruach.
Ruach. I love to tell this story because, yes, everybody asks. Ruach is actually a Hebrew name.
Right.
And its first reference in the Genesis version of the Bible, of the Hebrew Bible, where it says the Spirit of God moved across the face of the waters. That spirit in Hebrew is called Ruach. And it is actually a feminine pronoun that denotes the Spirit of God. So unlike the King James Version where we get the masculine pronouns all the time, they're actually feminine names for God as well. So it means spirit, breath, and life.
So I guess from birth you were entrenched in the spirit.
Oh, yes. I believe that we're spirit first and everything else after.
All right. So before we get too deep in the conversation, I'm going to give the listeners a chance to hear what your music sounds like.
Yes.
Sunshine. Right now, I'm the one. Right now, I'm the one and only one. Will be all that I can be. Counting my blessings, learning my lessons, living my dreams. Hey, sun shining at the morning, cool floating at the evening. Breeze blowing on the sea, the wave is up. It's time for me to rise. Fruits growing at the season, we loving at the reason. Shine bright like a bee, the way that I'm supposed to be. I'll say the word, yeah, yeah. Alright, I'll say the word, it will be done, da-da-da. Cause I have power over me. Counting my blessings, learning my lessons, and living my dreams, yeah. Sun shining at the morning, cool looking at the evening. Breeze blowing on the sea, the wave is up. It's time for me to rise. Fruits growing at the season, we loving at the reason. Shine bright like a bee, the way that I'm supposed to be.
You know, and I chose to play this song first because of how we started talking about challenges and rainy days, and you know, sunshine is always something to look forward to after a rainy day.
Exactly. And it's interesting too because the song speaks about triumph. It's about being your best self, shining like the sun, you know, as you were intended to be. So
alright, so tell me a little bit about Ruach the artist. How did you get into music and what inspired you to do the kind of music you do?
Music for me started really early. It was in my home. Everybody at home sang. I grew up in church, so you know, we were always singing. And You hear it everywhere in the streets, and so it was always a part of me. I was always singing as a child growing up. I decided to take music seriously after going through normal experiences in life. I decided that if I'm going to be here, I'm going to do the things that I love doing the most. And music was at the top of the list. I also write, and poetry is at the top of that list as well. And I do other things as well. But I'm going to spend my time in the earth doing those things that bring me pleasure. And hopefully those things can bring value to other people as well.
And if it pays the bills, that makes it even greater. And if it pays the bills,
that would be even more wonderful. Yeah.
All right. So when you decide, okay, music it is, and you're deciding that, okay, I'm going to step forward into the music full time. Mm-hmm. What was that like? How was it getting into the professional aspect of music?
I stepped out in faith, actually. At the time, I knew very little about the industry besides the fact that I can write and sing. And I use social media a lot to get started. And through social media, I met a lot of people who are in production and that kind of thing. So I, networked and started recording with a young group of producers at the time named High Expectation. And with them, I put out an EP, a 9-track EP in 2013. And just been growing and learning since then, learning and growing. But definitely, I like what you referenced to the professional aspect of the business. It means that you have to understand that this business of entertainment is actually a business. Yep. So there's a whole heap that you need to learn about every aspect of it, how to register your music, how to copyright your stuff, how to understand royalties and publishing. From the production end, understand quality production and rhythms and vocals. And so it's a lot. But if you are open to learning, you start where you're strongest and then expand. And so that's how it's been for me.
Because, one of the things that a lot of people don't seem to realize until it gets out of hand is that if you're doing music for fun, then go do karaoke. If you're a professional musician, you can't be doing it part-time. You can't compete with people who are doing music every day.
Right.
And whether or not you look at it as competing, you're in a space. Mm-hmm. And if your standard is not up to the level, then nobody's going to look at you.
Nobody's going to listen.
Which means you need to do music full-time if you're a professional.
You need to eat, sleep, and breathe.
And if you're spending all your working hours doing music, then you're not working otherwise.
Right.
And if you're not working otherwise, then music needs to pay.
Exactly. Music needs to pay. And the thing about music too, especially in the beginning, it is an intangible thing. It is basically the sound of a voice, and it's sound. It's not tangible. It's not physical. It's not like another business like you're going to open an office, so you buy a desk.
Right.
And you see the desk every day. Music is like the sun rising. You have to constantly be plugging, constantly be working. And it is an expensive business to start. So you have to be prepared for all of that.
Like I say, it's not like traditional consumable items. It doesn't shoes that I can put on and wear. It's a mental concept that I have to enjoy.
And then encourage other people to buy into the concept. It is all intangible. But the beautiful thing about it is once you get people excited and once you get them buying into what you're doing, then, everything else flowers from that. But it is intangible. It is not a physical business. But definitely it demands as much as or even more than another type of business that requires a lot of tangible products.
And then now, of course, especially with your kind of music, outside of the financial rewards, there's also now the benefits of seeing people benefiting and being inspired from the music.
Yes, you need to know why you're doing what you're doing. I write all of my music, and my purpose is to share something positive, to encourage someone through their experience, to share a truth that I have learned in my journey. Because coming to this point, one of the things I did not like about going through all of the experiences that you go through in life, it's hard to find people who have something positive to say about your challenge. It is hard to find people to encourage you. And so that's what I want my music to do. To inspire, to encourage, to uplift, to remind that we have the potential to be anything that we desire to be.
And on that note, tell me about this song and tell me about the inspiration behind that song.
Well, Mr. Player Man is all about a player man, a man who is a player of women's hearts, but it's written in a very fun way. So the player man could be a player of music. But basically that's what it is about, and a young woman's experience being involved with a player man. And it is drawn from life experience, my own personal experience and stuff that I've seen other women go through. So it's one of those fun songs.
When they play a man there, hear me now. Play what you say. Week is done. One go clear me head. Play what you did. We can come again. Been waiting, Mr. Player man. What's the motive? What's the plan? You beat them sweet like sugar, and that's what matters. Come again. Wish you could have did. Wish you could have did. Wish you could have did. Wish you could have all day. Hooked on you. What I gotta get hooked on hearing your songs. Feel that groove. The way your music pulls me along. Your rhythm goes on and on and on. Flowing on and on and on. Round and round we go. Where we'll stop, nobody knows. Wish you could have there. Wish you could have there.
So that's a track called Mr. Playerman.
Yes.
Having what we call one of those international reggae dancehall feel.
Yes.
So you mentioned your EP released a few years ago. Firstly, what's the name of that EP?
That EP was called Evolution.
And what about recent releases? How many stuff you have released recently?
In February of this year, I released Player Man. In September of this year, I released Hold Strong and Sunshine, which you just played.
And all of those are available on all the digital platforms?
Everywhere, yes.
And how can people keep up with you in terms of social media?
I'm all over social media, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. Just Google Ruach and you'll find me.
And you want to spell that for the listeners?
RUACH, Ruach.
And you have stuff up on YouTube as well, so you can be found there.
Yeah, man. I'm on YouTube. I'm everywhere. SoundCloud, you name it, I'm there. My website is ruachrumusic.org.
So no one can complain about the music not being available. You just gotta go check it out.
You just need to Google. Go to Google and you'll find me.
Any EP or album just to look forward to anytime soon?
Yes, I am working on an EP that I want to release next year. But we're going to promote these two songs that were released in September 1st. So the videos for them.
You raise your children, paid your bills, and still can make ends to meet when you struggle for purpose, or you just can't take no